Welcome to episode 1287 of the Multifamily Collective. Today I want to talk about the process. When I got into the real estate business, let's say it was 1994, plus minus. And at the time, I went to work for a company called Remax. You probably know that. They sell single family homes, or they broker single family homes across the country. I'm sure they broker all kinds of other asset types. I've lost track of them over the years. But at the time, Remax was a franchise, and I worked for a small Remax / town and country real estate firm in New Mexico. And when I went to work there, I was put in a sort of mentor type program. Now, it's not mentor as we know it today or training as we know it today. It was me riding around in a car with a broker who had been at the company for the better part of a decade. And this person's name was Jody. She was avuncular in every sense of the word, not in the male version of that word, but she just took me under her wing and taught me a lot about life more so than sales. And one of the things I remember about Jody was a profound lesson that I don't even think she meant to teach me, but it just so happened that this event sparked a conversation that gave me a wonderful life lesson. So I get in her car one day to go out. I believe we were going out to show homes. And when we got in the car, she set her purse down in the middle, like let's say the console area of the car, and it tips over. And I kid you not, probably, who knows, 15 to 20 checks. And we don't know, some of us may not know what checks are, but checks fall out onto the seat next to me, and I pick them up like a stack of cards like this, right? It was just a bunch of checks, and I like trying to put them back together for her. And I said, "Goodness, this is a lot of these are a lot of checks, and it looks like a lot of money." And she said, "Oh yeah, I don't really have time. I haven't had time to go to the bank to deposit the checks." And I said, isn't it important that you get this money in the bank? I have to imagine you have commitments against this money. And she said, I I get so busy with people, with phone calls and sitting with people and touring with people and just spending time with people and taking care of their problems and their concerns and addressing matters and going to closings and being at the title company and sometimes at the city to work through things that might be encumbering a property. Or I just get so wrapped up in solving problems for people that sometimes I don't solve a problem, a simple problem for myself, and like getting these checks to the bank. But the lesson I got out of all of that was not necessarily that she needed to solve her problem, which she did need to solve, but it was more about the fact that there was this outcome called checks, money, but it was based on this process. And Jody loved this part. She loved the process. She loved being with people and solving problems with people, and she was incredibly good at it, as evidenced by this big pile of checks that she didn't even have time to take to the bank. She was so wrapped up in the other part of it, serving people. And so my message today to you is learn to love the process. And we'll get into this in another episode, but when you can convince yourself, even if in the early innings you're lying to yourself that you love the process, you kick off this thing called dopamine in your mind, and you associate that dopamine kickoff with process instead of a check in the bank, which is the way that most people tie that together. Most people think the dopamine comes as a result of this big check, but it's a whole other scientific thing that happens when you tie it to that versus tying it to a process. We'll talk about that later today because we're getting a little long here. But my encouragement to you today is learn to love the process. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.